We must never forget that the Roman Catholic Church was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it. We must never forget that the Church of England was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it.
If you're a Christian, trust me, you will never ever see the church the same way at the end of this video. Just let's watch.
We must never forget that over 12 million Africans were taken to the Caribbean, taken to Europe and America. We must never forget that. We must never forget that in Southern Africa, the apartheid regime was underwritten through verses from the Bible by the Dutch Reformed Church. We must never forget that. Upon a theology based in the Bible. Fact. We must never forget that the Roman Catholic Church was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it. We must never forget that the Church of England was involved in slavery, and they have apologized for it using the Bible. Theology. Slaves, obey your masters like you obey Christ in the Bible. Not revised, you go and read it. There is a verse like that. So when we talk about theology and African problems, we must remember that the effects of slavery are alive and with us today. When slavery was gone, it is Christians again, William Wilberforce. And I can, through history, see him standing in the House of Commons saying that slavery should be abolished, but that Africans should not be freed even when slavery is abolished and slave trade. After slavery, colonization came. And as I speak to you, Europeans sat in Bani in 1884 and 1885 and divided Africa into spheres of influence. Africa was a hunting ground, divided amongst the British, the Italians, the Dutch, the French, the Belgians, the Germans. And today we are in this assembly. I'm using English language which was imposed on us. And those of you who come from English-speaking countries, you refer to as Anglophone. Those of you who come from French-speaking countries, you are referred to as Francophone. And those from Portuguese are referred to as Lusophone. Soon there'll be Sinophone. We don't speak Yoruba. I'm not speaking Yoruba. I'm not speaking Kiswahili. There is no Kiswahili interpreter here. There are only French and Portuguese and English. Part of the African problem. We are confused. When my friend resisted their being called a perfect Frenchman, I could understand his anger. Because the colonial project was a dehumanizing and humiliating process. And religion and theology were at the heart of it. That is why when the European colonizer, we used to be taught in school that the flag followed the cross. I went to Zanzibar, and a young man was taking me through the dungeons, and he showed me there was the school where they taught Africans that they may use them in their labor. There is the church, that they touch their spirit, that they may be spiritually confused. And there is the hospital where they treated them, that they may use them as labor. I've never heard such interpretation. That is why when theology came, we were told that in order to be a Christian, you must be John or James or Joel. You cannot be Taiwo, no. That is not a Christian name. Christian name must be John, Joseph. Who said? Whose theology is it? Who said that in order to be a Christian, you must be John? Who said it? That is jaundiced theology. That is racist theology. Because when you want to change a person, you give him your name. Those of you who have watched Roots will know this. Alex Haley's Roots. You capture Kunta Kinte, and in order to dehumanize him, you call him Toby. That is also theology. So, African problem is also colonization. So as we speak now, there are Nigerians here. There are Ghanaians here. There are Congolese, Democratic Republic of Congo, and then there is Congo, named after Ferdinand de Brazza, called Brazzaville. I look forward to the day they change Brazzaville's name. At least they changed Leopoldville into Kinshasa. This is the reality. This is part of the problem. The Democratic Republic of Congo will never know peace because of religion, Roman Catholicism, and colonization. These are the problems bedeviling Africa. And we never say it. King Leopold of the Belgians caused 13 million Congolese to be killed. Twice the number of the Jews that were killed by Adolf Hitler at Holocaust. But we have forgotten. We Africans have a short memory. But the Jews will never allow you to forget. Never, ever. But we Africans have forgotten. Part of the African problem is short memory, amnesia. It's part of our problem. And that is why we keep on repeating the same mistakes time and over. Colonization is part of the problem that affects Africa. Because after colonization ended, we have another thing called neo-colonization. And it is alive and well. That thing called neo-colonization is alive and well. And if you doubted whether it's alive and well, I want you to see what is happening in Guinea-Conakry. I want you to see what is happening in Niger. I want you to see what is happening in Burkina Faso. I want you to see what is happening in Chad. And I want you to see the arrogance of the French president when he says, my ambassador shall not leave, my bases shall not be removed. At least yesterday he capitulated. The neo-colonial project is alive and well. Did you hear the voice of the church? Throughout what is happening in Guinea-Bissau? No, the church is silent. The church is complicit. So when you talk about theology and what it can do, sometimes courtesy of theology, because you want to be good, you don't raise your voices. The last time I checked, John the Baptist's voice was alive and well in the wilderness. Where is the voice of the church amidst all this? Africa's problem is also neo-colonization. From slavery to colonization to neo-colonization, which is an ongoing project. And Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah was right in 1965 when he said, the last stage of colonization is neo-colonization, and is alive and well. And we see it. Today, I tell Africans because of neo-colonization, I'll come to what I think theology can do. Today in Africa, here in Nairobi, Kenya, if you want to buy something from a supermarket, you go to Carrefour, which is French. You want to buy fuel, you go to Total Energies or Rubies, which is French. You want to have your pizza, which is made by Kentucky Fried Chicken, which is American. You have it carried by Glovo, which is Spanish. If you want to have security, you have it by G4S, which is British. If you want your home guarded, it's guarded by KK, which is Gardewald from Quebec. If you want to have chicken, it's Kentucky Fried Chicken. If you want your airports managed, it's Swissport from Switzerland. That is the state of Africa. Consuming what we do not produce and producing what we do not consume. Just look at it. That is it. And when you are in that state, you are a slave. When you are in that state, you are dehumanized. When you are in that state, you are not behaving as if you are made in the image of God. If you run across Africa, there is no shortage of organizations which are designed to debilitate Africa. Through NGOs, USAID. Right now they are busy dropping food in Sudan and Somalia. UKAID, Danida, GIZ. There is no shortage of them, and Kwame was right again. The colonialist comes under different guises.
They never left. The slave masters, the colonizers, they never left. They are still here in African soil. They determine our policies. They determine our way of life. We can't do without the colonizers. We can't do without the slave traders, the slave masters. They are still here. And we don't want to learn. We don't want to learn. Africans don't want to learn. Africans don't want to learn. And it's so sad. It is very sad. The people that cause these things, the people that are keeping us in this situation, it is not even mostly about the whites, but we the Africans, our mentality, that slave mentality, we still have it. We are not ready to let go of that. That is our problem. And that is why corruption is looming in Africa. We are not learning. We are not learning. We are not ready to learn. I won't say much. Just tell me what you think in the comments, because this is crazy. From slave trade to colonization to neo-colonialism. Who knows the next part, the next phase of this whole thing? Share your thoughts in the comments. How long are we going to continue in this mess? Africans, I'll be reading your comments. Let's discuss.